This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It is an honor to have you here. Snipers, villain, or they were a hero, depending on which side they were on and what side you're on. Absolutely. And one of the most distinguishing features that a sniper had, visibly, was his scope. The regular troops didn't have scopes back then, absolutely. And that allowed them to see on a longer range and kill a target. And unlike sights that you have a front sight and a back sight and you have to try to line them up to make an accurate shot, all you had to do is get the enemy in the vision of the scope with the crosshairs, and if everything worked right, you had a dead soldier. You had a dead soldier. But not all of the armies were equal or the same. Now, the standard issues, of course, were 4x scopes, but Japan only had a 2.5x scope. And it had no adjustments. It was all factory made. No adjustments could be made in the field. That's not a good idea. Their sight pattern was also a lot smaller than the other type of rifles. In fact, the Germans quite often bought a better commercial grade scope to put on their rifles if they had any money at all. Just as in other wars, quite often the commercial stuff was better than the military, so those with money would go buy the better stuff. And so it was with scopes. The Japanese, they lagged behind though. I said as an enemy, they lagged behind with scopes. That isn't to say they didn't have snipers. In fact, they made 25,000 sniper rifle. With that, the Japanese suffered. They also, because of the Japanese mindset of I am willing to die for my emperor, quite often they would put themselves in places and say this is as good a place to die as any. You don't win a war by dying for your country. You win it by killing the other poor SOB. Yes, and a scope makes a lot of difference. The Japanese would get up into trees all too often. There's no way to get out of there, and they would machine gun trees and the guy was dead. No chance of escape. A good sniper, the first thing is, okay, how am I going to get out of here? Where's my retreat after I make my shot or a few shots? And after I make a shot, if at all possible, I move from shot to shot to make it a lot tougher to zero in on me. Yeah, absolutely. The Japanese are not credited with much sniping, but I do know of one story, and so I tell that. And that is that the Japanese on an island, and there was a hillside that hadn't been protected very well, so the U.S. decided to send Marines around and up that side of the hill. But there was no cover, and the Japanese, they hoped, would figure why nobody would be foolish enough to try it. But the Japanese left one sniper up there. One sniper, yeah. And as they tried to move up that hill, they started getting shot. And there was no hiding. They finally retreated and tried a couple of different ways, and nothing worked. If they stuck their head up, they died. So they brought up their own U.S. sniper to try to take out that sniper. But in no time, their sniper, the U.S. sniper, was dead. They finally gave up and they called in a cruiser, firing 6-inch artillery shells at the guest position of that sniper. About 20 rounds, and then it shut off, and no more sniper fire. And as they went up there, they never did find the body, or at least the full body. But needless to say, they apparently got him using a ship's artillery round. Now, some of the powers that be said, okay, how do you know it was all from him though? How do you know he just didn't retreat? Well, again, the Japanese mindset of I'm going to die for my emperor says he probably was killed. He wouldn't retreat. And he said, well, then how do you know that it was just that one sniper? He said, well, of the 35 Marines killed, all of them were shot in the head, most of them between the eyes. Now that's some shooting. Absolutely. So the Japanese had some snipers, but you sure don't hear much about it nowadays, do you? You guys have a good day.